get your hugs. You on my chest, pumping air to my lungs. I do what's fun. Don't know how to stop.
Rated T for Teen.
Enough talk. Let's fight. Open the gates.
Smash you like a pancake.
Murder and seduce. That's what I do best.
Apocalypse awaken.
Onward to victory!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the showcase stream for our second Smite 2 Alpha Weekend. That's going to be kicking off tomorrow, May 30th. My name's Isaiah. I'm going to be walking everybody through what you all can expect when servers go live tomorrow. And I'm joined by AJ from the design team. But it's not just us. We got the rest of the design crew from Smite 2 joining us as well. Clumsy, Aggro, and Pon. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
We're doing great. All three of us over here. Pon included.
Yep.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm super excited to go over Smite 2, what people can expect tomorrow. I know you all have been cooking a lot of stuff. We got a lot of great feedback from Alpha Weekend 1, but speaking of Alpha Weekend 1, we did it. Like, how's everybody feeling, right?
Yeah. It was awesome. It was really exciting to be able to turn on Twitch and watch people play Smite 2 and not be like, what is happening? You know, It was a little odd in that way, but the feedback we got was excellent, and the reception was really, really positive, and we were happy to see that people were excited, just as excited as we are for this future of Smite 2.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody for your participation and for your feedback. We got so many specific, most specific notes. That's what we love.
Yep.
That's what we're always like, oh,
We
this
can
bug
action
report,
on.
this bug report is so specific. I love it. Like that is like what we get excited about when we get that feedback in. So thank you so much for all of you who took that time and effort just to play or to take that extra effort to write things down and send it to us, because it was super helpful.
Appreciate all the feedback. I heard we got close to 1,000 bug reports come in through our bug report forum. So definitely appreciate everybody playing. But for those that went the extra mile, got involved, filled out that survey, got involved on Discord, filled out that bug report forum, just to give us all the info on how everybody's feeling about Smite 2, definitely much appreciated.
Any bets on over under more
Oh my gosh.
bug reports or less bug reports for Alpha Weekend 2? Anyone? I think we might get more this time.
Oh yeah,
in a good alpha way,
right?
Yeah, in a good way.
There's more stuff, right? So there's more opportunities for
That's true.
to play around with.
So true.
Yeah, we got a lot cooking. We got a lot that we learned from the Alpha Weekend, not just, technically. We, shout out to our technical team and the rally here and everybody for the servers stayed up in pretty good shape.
I think I played every
People
single
logged
day.
in.
And I personally didn't even have any issues. I was playing several hours each day.
And the community was like, yo, if stuff's on fire and you can't get in, be understanding about it. We really appreciate that. But
was
then
awesome.
even better that, even with a very big turnout, things stayed smooth.
Yep.
Getting into the game design, we learned a lot. We got a lot of feedback about Conquest, some pacing issues, some timing, the way, kind of the way the match is flowing throughout the game. Some games running into the 40s and 50s minutes.
That's because people just didn't want to leave.
They were having so much fun.
Cherishing every moment. Yes. Well, we're going to be looking to make some adjustments today on that. Item store, lots of feedback about the general system. So that's items, god design, things that were missing, some clearly overpowered items, and a couple. We'll be talking about those more today too. And finally, just some extra clarity systems and supporting systems. A lot of feedback on our new damage number systems, new accolade systems and UI across the map. So we have some exciting changes to all of those to describe today. And even though we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today, it's we're already moving. Like today, we're here to talk about Alpha 2, as we're calling it, but we already have a lot of stuff for Alpha 3 and beyond in progress and moving. This is a conversation I had with the ambassadors recently that were just surprised to hear like how much overlapping content we have all being developed all at once. So like, even though this big wave is ready to release, there's already more improvements to some of these things we're going to talk about. There's new stuff on the horizon. So, tune into each one of these shows and just get ready to hear about some cool stuff.
And make sure to like keep in check with the Discord and stuff like that. We have flash tests that are going on.
Yeah,
too,
that's
right? So
true.
you might get surprised and be able to play the game even faster.
There was a Reddit post about someone who like thought they'd kind of snuck in.
I saw
like,
that.
She did the test. But no, that's kind of the feeling, the intent that we're going for too.
And they've
So
been
it's
super
like-
helpful as well.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
We've been learning a lot from every one of those tests.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, AJ, you did a great summary at some of the quick hits that we wanted to cover today, but let's go ahead and dive into, some of the stuff that we took from Alpha Weekend 1, a lot of that feedback that came in, and let's talk about some of the bug fixes and some of the new features, not quite quality of life stuff, but just some of the things that we saw the community give us the most feedback on and how we're addressing them in Alpha Weekend 2. So first up with the bug fixes, we got a few that we wanted to call out just because the community's been talking about it.
Well, this is just fun because, we normally wouldn't do bug fixes as the first highlight of a Smite 1 show. I guess we used to back in the day a little bit more.
Depends on the bug.
We used to focus on a couple of like
Sometimes, but it's like
I'm sitting here really.
for the alpha process, we want people to know that we're tackling the high priority bugs that they're reporting. And also like to know that this is not an extensive list. That's going to be a bit of a theme today, as this is not an extensive list of everything that changed. We're just going to walk through a lot of the key moments. So
Patch notes should be live on the site for all the details if you want to follow along with us. But yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah.
So let's see what we got here. Fixed auto buy, not stop if you buy or sell potions.
This was a big one.
Big one.
For sure.
Right. So there's also, I think, some other improvements to auto buy, like a visual warning that'll tell you if you exited it. Or maybe that's an Alpha 3. I don't know. We'll find it.
that crossover we were
Spoilers.
talking over. Is
Yeah.
So that's fixed. Let's see. Fixed issues with key bindings. Controllers should now have fully rebindable buttons, and we've updated the Savage preset to feel a little bit more like Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in Smite 1.
We got feedback that it didn't quite feel the same way. We tried a few different keybinds, especially with the new active system to make it work, and we found that going back to what Smite 1 does felt better overall. But if you liked what we did in the original Alpha Weekend, you can also now just change it back.
There you go.
Well, that's something that Smite 1 players have always wanted.
Yeah.
Fully rebindable console.
Yeah. This is
And not- now,
really
no,
big deal.
where there's still, it's been getting improved to every alpha, and we'll keep expanding on that. Let's see. Tab and scroll wheel are now bindable. Is
Lots
that
of
meant to be dot? Is that the period key?
I think so.
Or is that a typo?
I think it's a typo. Yeah.
Because I would assume the period key was already rebindable. Fine.
Probably.
It's not
Yeah.
included in this list.
We'll find out.
We'll
But
find
now.
out.
More PC binds. VGS console pinging, tree key binds. There was a lot of fixes there. There was missing lines. There was some mixed up lines. There was
VGS causing movement was a big one that's fixed. Yeah.
There was the ping system wasn't working for console. I don't think at all, but that should be working. And it was just using a test sphere, as we call the debug sphere, just a plain white circle. But now it actually has a real targeter. And yeah, we also fixed an issue with auto run.
This one made me sad. I like being able to
Did you encounter
in
that one a lot?
MMOs. Yeah, but you could just hold it down to RP walk as you can do in MMOs. You
you would just swag
slow
it
mo
out.
walk, and I thought that was really funny. So maybe we bring it back somewhere.
Still probably do that through some
Just like
combination
spam
of
somehow.
keys.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Well,
I want that back.
Well, yeah, those were the bug fixes that we wanted to highlight here on the show just because we saw a lot of community conversation about them during Alpha Weekend 1, so we wanted to call them out. Lots more bug fixes on patch notes on the site, but let's get in game and talk about some of the other things that we're talking about. AJ, you mentioned some of the combat UI stuff that we're addressing in Alpha Weekend 2, specifically damage numbers. We got a lot of feedback on how damage numbers show on the screen, so we've made a pass in this new iteration of damage numbers to help improve just the general clarity whenever you're in combat.
yeah, we worked a lot on this, and we still have a long way to go. So we just want to make sure we preface that. This will be an active conversation between the devs and the community to figure out, what people like the most, and we want to continue to add more options, more variation to this. But the immediate changes you're going to see in the next alpha is there are no longer going to be the magical physical symbols next to everything when you deal damage. It's only going to be when you take damage. So you can already check what type of damage you're dealing by reading your ability tooltips. So you don't really need that twice. But if someone is hitting you for a lot of damage and it's really big numbers, you want to know what to itemize against, so you can still see that. Additionally, when you take damage, it's going to have a little bit of a coloration change for magical versus physical. So when you take damage, you'll see the red number, but then you'll also see a tinted orange or purple symbol for the physical and magical. And there's also a variety of fixes we did just around sizing, anchoring, animation, just overall polish pass. Anything you want to add, Pon?
Yeah, there.
I believe we're ready to go in game and kind of show some stuff.
Yeah, we can definitely look at it. Yeah. The main things to know are just there was a lot of issues with how the damage was scaling. So you'll see spoiler for things that are going to be here, but we'll ignore that for now. But you can see the damage number now.
Yeah, there's spoilers here in this current dev build.
Before, all the damage numbers spawned from the same location and would get offset. So I have a clip of Kurnanos with 6 Manchu bows auto-attacking with all this stuff. It would cause all the numbers to be across the screen, but you can see now, even if I do a whole bunch of stuff here, the damage numbers separate a little bit. The basic attack damage is on one spot, the ability damage on another spot, the item procs are on another spot, so they're all separated out. We have a few more things that we're looking to do here, so you'll see more improvements in even the next alpha weekend as well. But this should be a much clearer combat experience in regards to seeing what damage numbers you're doing, seeing that it's attached more closely to the god that you're actually attacking, and then we can also do bot shoot 5. Nope, they're not going to attack because they're liar, but
they're chilling right now.
You would see if you take damage. Similarly, the damage is more anchored on your character. It has a little bit of randomization to make sure that it doesn't overlap important damage numbers. There's scaling adjustments to the size of damage. So when you hit really big versus when you hit a small amount, the bigger damage takes more precedent. There's just a lot of things that weren't there before that you'll notice as you're playing and should be a better improvement. And again, give us feedback on this. Again, we're going to be constantly iterating on this. Damage numbers are one of those things that you could tweak probably forever. But if things are missing or things aren't quite feeling right when you're playing, definitely give us a shout out for that.
Absolutely.
I forgot to warn you that the nameplates were under construction in this build.
Oh yeah,
the health bars floating over the gods' heads. That's not what they're going to look like, I don't believe, in Alpha 2, but they're currently still being iterated on for a future release.
Yeah, this is technically the AW3 build, you could call, so you might see some things that are weird, but
we've just decided that spoilers are okay on the show.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's a little bit, it's about the open communication, and players want to see where we're going next.
Yeah, they're going to see even more progress.
Yeah, so there you'll see some of the progress that's going to be in the future, even though it's not in this patch. Okay, what's next?
Some updated gameplay settings that the community's been asking about. So things like the ruler line targeter is going to be added.
Yep.
And Alpha Weekend 2, the ability to remove the reticle from your screen is going to be added. That self nameplate feature is actually going to be added too. That way the health bar shows above your character. Lots of stuff that is in Smite 1 that the community was looking for in Smite 2 just going to be added as well.
Yeah, should make it feel a little bit more like the Smite you're comfortable with, and getting those settings a little bit closer to how you had them in Smite 1, so that you can give us better feedback on this isn't looking right, or I just needed this, and all of a sudden I just needed a ruler and I'm not super worried about my target.
Now I can go back to instant cast.
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Those are really important for getting actually just being core to people's gameplay experience.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
More so than you would ever imagine.
It's those little things that build up, and if you don't have the ability to customize some of that and remove your own frustrations that might be different to someone else's, it'll impede your gameplay performance. So we're getting there.
Cool. All right, that's a quick one. Next one is going to be a much bigger one, but we're doing a pretty big pass.
Oh, hell yeah.
Pass on the item shop.
Yeah, that's exciting.
AJ, you want to kick us off and tell us about what we're doing with the item shop?
Yeah, so this is speaking specifically to the item shop UI and the general functionality and art, not the items in the shop. Yeah. Although we'll get there today too. So couple big changes. First of all, just another art pass. This is an alpha. We've been iterating on our own internally. We've gone through a lot of item stores and HUDs that players haven't even seen, and a lot of adjustments. So we're going to keep shipping those to players as we go. But this one, the new item store, has a completely new look to it. It's it's a little more dark in the coloration. It's got some black and gold and silver. We'll probably be able to demo it here shortly.
Yeah, I think
it looks really cool. There we go. So you'll also see some new features here that we'll talk about as well that are, I think everything we're going to see here is in the Alpha 2. But here's kind of the new look for the item store. These colors fit our tone a little bit better, we felt, and they also just help with the clarity. Makes it feel less noisy, less busy. So we're going to be experimenting with that here, and then depending on how we feel about this is something that is potentially going to be driving a lot of our UI artistic design through the rest of the HUD, the screens that you use while you play Smite, and even some of the front end. As we're still, nailing down the thematic art style that we're going to use throughout the entire game, so it can be consistent. One thing that we struggle with on Smite 1 when you're building on the game over itself for 10 plus years, certain things look dated, certain things look different. So trying to do our best here to keep that consistent as we go. Let's see. We have a lot of controller navigation improvements.
Shout outs to all the console and controller players for all the feedback on the item store, for sure.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, we have a controller dedicated team at the studio, and we have controller dedicated ambassadors and streamers and community members who are giving us a lot of feedback there. So not going to list out all the specifics, but the general entire flow of navigating through this shop with a controller had many changes, and we're going to continue making changes to make that the smoothest possible on controller. Okay, the next one is the really exciting one, which we're hopefully going to be able to demo for you here with Ponpon's settings. So we have now added the option to the store to display it in 3 different ways.
This is wild.
Yeah.
Have you used this setting?
I have
live?
not used this.
You have? Oh, I used
All
this
right,
other game.
So you're going to have to hit escape, Pon. You have to exit the store, hit escape. You're going to go to your settings. I think it's under gameplay at the very bottom.
There it is.
Item store layout. Go ahead and pick centered.
Yeah.
And hit apply and save and exit. And now open your item store.
Bang.
Oh my
There
god.
we go.
Smite PC players.
I have just unlocked
Did you not know about that?
so much knowledge and happiness.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this.
I didn't know
We've been hyping this around the studio. These
I
guys
know.
are so focused on making their
I
gods.
used it,
So
too.
true.
But I mean, that's part of the process. I think that's been really interesting, right? Is like at some point, some of the UI team, they're just like, let's see what it would look like in this sort of format, and there's like they quickly prototyped it, worked it up, and put it inside the game. That
This is a good example of one of the tangible benefits of UE5.
100%.
Because this
would not have been
modular UI, widget blueprints for you Unreal devs out there have allowed us to essentially use all of our core code and UI work and just arrange it in slightly different sizes and shapes, because the way Unreal handles that is it's designed to let you do that.
Even having this kind of a discussion back on Smite 1 would have just been like
Would have been months.
half a
Yeah.
year ordeal. Or
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
It's
so
ended up
that's the
being
UI
like
feature for this season.
Yeah.
Like,
Our UI team on Smite 1 just worked so damn
So
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Because with that old tech, it was
It
very
was-
limiting.
Yes.
And they
Yeah,
still
right.
did amazing things, but it was very limiting. But wait, Pon, there's more. Please go
Wait,
ahead into the
there's more.
setting and choose one more setting for me. I believe it's called the split option,
Oh yeah, the third one.
and save that for me. And
Apply that.
We're gonna save.
and now the classic
Da-da-da.
console player experience
So you don't have any
will
sacrifice.
also be supported. So you're going to get the new shop left aligned by default. We're still really interested in experimenting with that one to make it as useful as possible, keeping everything in one place, not covering the whole screen. But we know there's different things that different players want and different platforms want. So here we go. We have all 3.
It's gonna be on YouTube. You should be like, like and comment and tell us which one
Right.
you're gonna be
like,
using.
comment, subscribe. Let us know which
comments,
item
which one
shop you're going to
Let
be
me
using
know in the comments which one you can use. Yeah,
Or spam it in chat right now. Let us know which one you're going to use.
Some other features you'll see in the item store is the those little up and down arrows in the top right. You can now pivot between tier 3s
Yup,
versus
it's
tier
huge.
1s, sorting up and down. I believe that's in Alpha 2.
Now you're tier
If it's-
3.
If you have to wait till Alpha 3, I apologize, but I think it is in Alpha 2. The other one is those new filter buttons across the top.
Yeah.
These are now a subset of items by role. And there's some level of God unique tailoring to these items as well. These are currently designer configured items. So this is just a set of it's intended to be a set of recommended items from the design team on what you might need in each god in each role. So if you somehow end up playing Soul Jungle and you're not really sure what to do, we gave you at least some place to start.
Some new icons I haven't even seen yet. I'm like staring at them. I was like,
I know the
I
helms.
know,
The
right?
helms are the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you go to those helms? I haven't even seen those.
crazy.
A lot of item
Oh, yeah.
icon art coming in over time. We didn't list all those out on patch notes,
Thought I
but there are
missed
some really cool ones, so keep an eye out for
Some
that.
viewers
But, yeah.
with some eagle eyes might notice some new items that we'll
What?
get into a little bit later. Yeah.
If you go back to so this is in the split screen, but if you're using the default screen or the centered screen, you'll now see that the filters have text instead of just the symbol, so you can read which stat you're choosing more easily. You also, Pon, just do a quick test for me. When you go up and search for an item, can you just type crit in there?
Is that in yet?
You can now search
Nice.
by
We
stats
were talking about that. I didn't know that.
and some stat abbreviations. I think if you type like crit or like something in between, you have to type actually crit or critical strike or
Yeah,
something. So
crit.
it's a little limited right now, but there are a couple shortcuts. I think if you search like strength or STR, you should also get that.
Nice.
Nice.
That's
Like
very
and that'll work for pretty much every stat if you type the name or type the like the magic abbreviation.
I'd like aggro and get his Zeus's build in there.
Yo, oh, there's a plan right
I think
there.
attack speed is like ATK SPD or something like
Right.
that. But you can see those in the other store.
Got it.
The
In the
left
other menu.
aligned store, you
Right.
can see those abbreviations too, and those are the right ones. So
Yeah, I want to play around with this.
I know. I'm gonna add something. You're gonna type
Yeah.
in something.
those we
weird.
can add those
Can we do
really
that?
easily.
Or
I
are we
can show you how to do it. It's
100%
you can
I
add
wanna
any.
do
You
that.
can add
Let's go.
clumsy
I'm gonna-
special, and it could just bring up your build.
Absolutely, I'm
We
gonna
can
do that.
actually do that.
all
That's
the
sick.
pure stat sticks, I'm just gonna put Big Damn on.
Oh yeah.
Damn, classic.
Oh, we
Okay,
love
so
that.
I mean, I know we're hanging out on the item store for a long time, but
No,
we're really
lots of
excited about
changes
this.
here,
This
yeah.
was probably the most discussed. Felt like the single most discussed feature of the first alpha.
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe hard to make that claim, but it was a lot of
It
talk
felt
about
like
this.
It was up there. For
Yep.
So a lot of effort went into that for Alpha 2 and gonna get continued effort throughout the next phases.
Sweet. Well, I think that's the end of our section for like bug fixes and new kind of Alpha Weekend 2 features. But we just got done talking about the item store, but let's hop into items
time.
overall,
The
right?
items themselves, yeah.
So the first one, talking about items, not necessarily an individual item change, but an overall item change. Stat efficiency buffs. What are we
This
doing
is a
here? AJ?
first, a Smite first, another Smite first of the day. We haven't really talked about this too much in the previous test. We hinted at it, but now we're actually seeing it for real. So the Smite 2 item system has this concept of stat efficiency. Each stat, so strength, int, attack speed, cooldown rate, whatever, have a gold value per point of that stat associated to them. That is what balances the tier 1 items, and that is taken up through the tier 2 and the tier 3 items. Now, other mathematical formulas are in the tier 2s and tier 3s to adjust that a little bit depending on the strength of the passive or active of the effect, essentially. But there is like an intentional connective balance point between each stat. So we're going to see today a couple of the first stat efficiency
Tweaks.
changes,
Yeah.
buffs. So we have today a decreased cost for buying attack speed and crit.
Yes.
This is connected to a god change.
Yeah, I was
that
gonna say.
we'll be talking about in the god section.
Yes.
You want to chat about that real quick so it gives context?
Yeah,
I think so.
So the main change that we did was we got feedback that especially bruiser characters were very, very effective. They could be super tanky and they could also deal a lot of damage. One of the main drivers of that was actually everyone having strength as a base stat. And it was a very high amount of strength so that everyone's basic attacks would hit pretty hard. We've brought that down overall across the board so that now you actually have to invest more into your build to actually do that much damage, which should temper the kind of bruiser build that we were seeing. To compensate for that, so if you are playing a carry and you're auto-attacking a ton and you're building attack speed or crit to make those auto-attacks more powerful, it's going to be essentially easier to get a point of crit or a point of attack speed than it was before.
Right.
To basically compensate for that.
Because the carries, like tank characters lost some strength, but carries did too.
Yes.
And it wasn't just tank gods that were doing bruiser gods that were doing well. It was like bruiser builds on like anyone.
Yeah.
Was really strong. So that's one of the key changes we'll get to in the top of the god section, and connected to it here was that decreased strength and attack speed cost. So buffed.
Yes.
Pretty much buffed. The way this manifests itself in the game is every item with an attack speed or crit stat on it is going to either be cheaper for the same stats or give you more stats for the price.
Yes. Totally.
The other one we did is new int cooldown. So we had just cooldown efficiency, but we felt like mages, mid laners, intelligence users, where we went the whole first patch show without ever saying the word.
I know.
Mage. I'm gonna sit up immediately here. We're feeling a little on the weaker side from the feedback and from the data. So one of the ways we buff that is by giving them better rate on their cooldown items. So if int and cooldown are on the same item, you're going to be getting more efficient items than protection and cooldown or strength and cooldown.
Yeah.
So in that ways, you'll see either higher int on the intelligence cooldown items or higher cooldown
Yeah.
or cheaper.
Right, because for intelligence users that are traditionally played in the mid lane, they rely on that cooldown more heavily than a tank needs to rely on it, or an auto attacker needs to rely on it. So they need their items to be more efficient in that way, or else their builds will just be more expensive getting the stats that they need. It's I think having the same stat, but viewed through the correct contextual lens. Those need to have different stat values, and I think that
it's fine-tuned balance, and it also introduces an additional unique element to int builds in general.
Yep.
So if even if you're going like int chalk,
yep,
you're also going to be able to get more efficient cooldown.
Yes.
Which is just, we thought was really cool. Kind of the way strength is also going to be affecting your basic attacks.
Yep.
Int now kind of in these situations also helps you build more effective cooldown.
I think it's made those characters' builds feel much smoother. Like it should just feel very natural to players, I think, hopefully.
Yep.
Cool. All right, the next thing that's up with items is kind of another overarching change. Let's talk about cost and economy.
This is a loaded bullet point.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sure is.
So we kept it simple here for the communication plan.
Lots more info in the written patch notes on the side.
But not even all of the info this would be an extremely long section. We'd essentially have to relist out the entire item store again. So we opted not to do that in the patch notes this time. Let us know if that's trouble. We can look into new strategies in the future, but you'll want to check in game. But effectively, every item in the game has had some level of minor rebalance to it because of this. So we decrease the starting gold in Conquest and decrease the prices of a lot of tier 1s. So this helps you smooth out your build, so you can buy 6 potions and an item and run out of money perfectly, run out of gold perfectly.
Yeah.
This helps. We still allow you to build the same combinations of build we did before. Also, we made tier 1s and tier 2s cheaper to give ourselves more flexibility with tier 3s. Yep. In Alpha 1, pretty much every tier 3 was very expensive because we were kind of pushing ourselves to the max through the tier 1s and tier 3s because these things are all connected now. And there's a lot of systems involved. We can't just like break the rules in different places like we did in Smite 1 with the tree system. So there was a lot of like bottom-up rework of every item. Tier 2s are more efficient.
Yep.
Tier 2s are cheaper generally.
Around the same cost, maybe a little cheaper.
Okay, and then tier 3s now have a little bit more intentional cost stratification. You're going to see some intentionally cheaper tier 3s and some intentionally still like 3K.
Yeah, like the average tier 3 was like 2.7K before, and now it's closer to 2.4, 2.5. And the range now it goes from like 2.2 to 3, where before like most items sat around 2.5 or higher. So you have a much bigger range of items to choose from, and the general cost of all of them combined together has gone down. But this should mean that you can actually build, like, you can rush a cheaper item to get a more efficient power spike, or some effects only make sense in the context of on a cheaper item in general.
Right. So
this is like an amount of like 50 gold for the Conquest starting gold and the tier 1 shifts. Like,
it's
500 gold or
You should be
anything
able to build the same. It just should feel nicer to build your items and finish out spending all your gold.
It's going to affect different items in various degrees. So there might be some that are more intense and maybe would have been worth discussing a little bit more, but we picked a subset of items that we're doing a lot of heavier balance on top of to talk about today. But in most cases, you're going to see, these minor adjustments in cost and stat for pretty much every item in the game.
You should still be able to buy 2 cheap tier 1 items and a couple pots, or 1 more expensive tier 1 and 1 cheap tier 1 with no pots available. Like, that's the general flow for the starting gold change.
And at tier 3 items, because of the efficiency rules in the component system, if an item is cheaper, it also had stats adjusted to fit with that cost adjustment or made expensive, etc. Like, we don't just change those things independently like we used to. So everything will be balanced in much the same way through the efficiency system, but some things will be more expensive than others and some things will be cheaper.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of exciting things to go look for when you get into this alpha.
Speaking of exciting things, I want to talk about some new stuff, right? Like, we got some new items to go through. So let's go ahead and kick it off. The first new item on the list is Pendulum Blade.
Clumsy, why don't you open up this one for us?
Because who gets the one after this is the spicy one.
All right, fine. Well, you want to give this one to Aggro so you can have the next one?
Yeah. The mid-level gets the less exciting item. I see how it goes. No, Pendulum Blade, really, really fun effect. This is an effect that we used a lot in Smite 1. Temporal beads and that kind of stuff has always allowed for really cool playmaking. And now with the Smite 2 item system, we can give those exciting effects on active items very easily. So now just reduce your cooldown by 3 seconds. Loki players, you're already getting your vanish resets off and all that kind of stuff. Now you can get it even faster if you don't get that kill. There are a lot of different cool applications for Pendulum Blade that this has already become like one of the items that I'm always going to in the late game for an
This one
assassin.
feels good. Like you get like Yotons for some CDR. You want some even more, you go Pendulum Blade. Feels good.
Yep.
Some quick shout outs on this item. So first of all, you'll notice temp art. It's using the bladed boomerang as a placeholder.
Yep.
That's going to be a theme. One of the awesome parts about being in an alpha is that we can prototype items really quickly and get them out to y'all. We're going to use temp art though in a lot of those cases. If those items withstand the test of time and the community's trials and they love it and they want to keep it, that's great. We will art up all these items eventually. As you saw, a lot of new art streaming in already today. If not, then we can cut it and make a new one. And it doesn't really waste any time or effort.
That's crazy exciting to even.
So we have 5 brand new items today. Some of which that are active, some are stat sticks, and etc. So I wanted to call it the prototype items in the temp art, and then also just with these active items, they just these effects that have been in Smite 1 work so well with the new active system, and that's really the theme here for this next item.
Yeah,
Clumsy.
This next item is one that we wanted to play around with a while. We just couldn't find the right way to do it. But now with the active item system, we're reintroducing Staff of Mirrodin. And Staff of Mirrodin,
The original
Staff of Mirrodin. So
the crazy one.
high luxury gold, like we're talking about, just intelligence and CDR with the int CDR. But now, when you press this active item, your next non-ultimate ability will have no cooldown. You can press it twice.
Double spell.
Double spells.
It's good.
It's
good.
real good. 3-minute cooldown.
It's good.
It's a long cooldown. You got to actually plan around what you're doing. I think when we first introduced this, we're playing around with like 90 seconds just to see how it felt, right? But this is not an item where you want to have the active effect so often and you price the stats accordingly. Like you want to make sure that this felt fair because that active effect is good. It's always going to feel good.
And both of these actives, we really were trying to still find some actives that are even more skill ceiling-y.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So like some of the actives we had in the initial test were kind of intentionally very straightforward. Like
Totally.
A super long duration self buff. Like you just hit it and then fight for a while. But these ones, Pendulum Blade and Mirrodin, are like specifically geared towards even more perfect timing and decision making and aim to really maximize their benefit, which, if we see how good some players really are, we'll really see how strong these are.
I was gonna say,
which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
Han, are you good enough? Do you want to show us in game a little Staff of Mirrodin action? Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we have cheats out all the time, so we're like just double dropping
Yeah.
abilities like nonstop in these shows. But
Right. So if I
turn
cooldown should be off. Oh no, I don't have cooldowns off.
he was cheating.
Yep, he was cheating.
Classic pawn.
Always.
There, the activation. There's the text.
The beautiful temp effects.
Those aren't nice temp effects. Good choice.
Nice. There we go.
They were a
That should
lot.
be spoilers.
Okay, there we go.
So if you see
There's
someone
no
running
double.
around with those blue crystalline sparkles on them, you know they're about to double spell you. So watch out.
And there, if I remember correctly, the balance point we reach is there is no timer on that Staff of Mirrodin effect, so you can pop it.
Won't go on cooldown until you use
Exactly.
it. So there's, you can't cheat it.
You
Oh,
can't
so you
cheat
can
it.
just like pre-pop it
You
and
can
walk
pre-pop it and
around.
you're waiting,
Okay.
But then whatever ability you use next,
Yeah, but then
that's
you
the one that
are
matters.
gonna waste your cooldown if you don't end up
Exactly.
using that.
Yeah.
Fight.
Yeah. You can't use it and then 3 minutes later get like a double proc.
You can't do that. Triple proc.
Triple proc.
Yeah, no triple procs.
And at the moment, this is just
Triples
a
is
non-ultimate
expensive.
ability, so this is not like your next active item cooldown, which is something that we thought about, but that's just getting like one step
That's
too far
spicy.
for now.
Yeah.
It's only your
Maybe
1, 2, or
later.
3.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Next new item is Spear of Negation. Just a stat stick on this one, right?
It is, but it's a unique niche combination of stats that didn't exist in the game.
Yep.
Pon Pon was a big
Yeah,
proponent of this one.
I literally was just like, when we have Poseidon and he Krakens me and I am Hebo, how do I survive Kraken without buying like just a shield or something, right?
I mean-
and like I used to play back in season like the alpha version, right? And that was like a situation, and you had like Voidstone, and Voidstone was just really effective at continuing to do damage, but being that one targeted item that would let you survive the burst combo. Because after you survive the burst combo, you were good, right?
Yeah,
So
build
it
life
just
steal or
feels
whatever.
like it just fills a niche that we didn't have before. I'm happy to have it. I like it. And sometimes the items that like you need can be relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
This item does have some connectivity to another like reworked item we'll talk about later today, so it made it even more necessary. But we also like this item ended up being a stat stick because we wanted it to still have these stats in pretty high quantities.
Yep.
We didn't want to like dilute this effect with the passive, and God knows we tried with Stone of Fall and like every different way we tried to make that mage anti-mage item work, when it's like,
how many different iterations
let's just
of Stone
go
of
with
Fall
the
did we
simple
have?
version here, which is like a medium amount of intelligence and a high amount of magical protections.
Yeah, if I want to survive Kraken and still do a decent amount of damage, I build this.
If your opponent team is investing a little too much in their magical damage, or maybe whoever's running away with the game, this is a really strong counter item that just should slot in well. It's going to be situational. It's not going to be the most popular item in the game.
It's not like luxury statted with luxury,
yeah,
stats.
it's relatively
luxury
cheap, so you
priced
can
and
get into it when you're in an emergency if you need to. But it's going to be a solid role player.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got another classic item returning: Breastplate of I can't talk. Breastplate of Valor, making its way to Smite 2.
And we're in a different order. Did you skip one?
Did I? Oh, I did skip one. Typhon's Fang.
Are they? Production
is good.
They were quick.
Yeah, they're quick.
Like,
yeah,
they're like,
know.
we can do either.
We can do either. They're ready to go. Yeah.
We're messing with them.
So we have first the Smite 2 reworked version of Typhon's Fang. Now we chose the name, even though this item doesn't do the same thing, because it's just kind of the known high lifesteal item.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everybody just knows that. The way we chose to represent that here in Smite 2 is a pretty interesting line of stats here.
Yeah.
It's just a ton of lifesteal.
40%.
Yeah.
No int, no strength.
Yep.
Just a lot of lifesteal.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion going back and forth on like, what do we want to, what is the purpose of this item? What are we trying to achieve? And the ultimate idea was, well, we just want an item where the premier stat is lifesteal. What can we do with that? Who's that for? Originally, it was for the intelligence users, but we're like, okay, well, there's actually more flexibility if we lean onto the lifesteal stat. And now this can actually apply to anyone. If you're a strength user, if you're an int user, if you're, abilities or basic attacks, you can still make use of that lifesteal in your own independent way.
It's very viable on any god.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're willing to sacrifice strength int or protections and instead go for a lot of lifesteal.
Yeah.
It's a luxury stat, luxury price. The
Lifesteal is also, reminder, strong.
Very strong.
Yeah.
Very, very strong. Right. Because there's it's automatically ability lifesteal. This isn't.
And, basic attack and abilities for all gods.
And there's no AoE coefficient.
Right.
So
it's just god versus minion.
previously, you would you do a full Anubis combo and hit a bunch of people with your 3 and your 1, and you'd lifesteal a good amount because you're Anubis, but your actual values that you're getting from your lifesteal percentages are very low. Now, you're going 40% lifesteal is an insane amount of lifesteal. Like
It's a heavy trade-off though for no CDR, no int,
zero power of any sense.
But that's what makes it really interesting.
Want this item, but maybe not even every time. Depending on the style.
The counter builds with anti-heal, of course, you got to keep that in mind.
I even put that in the dev notes. Like, hey, just a reminder to look out for those ruinous items that are our anti-heal set. Too, so
if you see an enemy Anubis with Typhon's Fang, buy an anti-heal.
And there's a tier 1 component of some anti-heal available.
Actually,
so,
you can even
start
slash a little
building
anti-heal.
immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, breastplate of valor. I still can't say the item. My second try. We're here.
We gave you the do-over.
I know,
bro.
right?
Life is cruel sometimes.
I know, right?
But it's back.
Yeah.
An iconic Smite 1 item. Again, just kind of like a niche that even though frontliners were very strong in the first alpha weekend, we're taking some power away from them. We want to make sure they don't feel super, super weak or anything like that. And this is one of the niches that they were kind of missing, that high cooldown item with a little bit of protection that's fairly accessible. But now, for the first time ever, Breastplate got its glyphs in Smite 1, but it never had a true passive. Now has an actual passive attached to it, which has felt really, really good and very natural to its identity of the cooldown item.
And we specifically wanted to choose a flat amount of health to be used here as the thresholds, because if it's percentage based, then theoretically anyone can make use of it to a pretty decent degree. But now, if you really want to make use of that passive, you should be buying more health. You should be buying more supplemental items with health on it. You'll be getting even more value out of that passive.
That's really
Frontliners
cool.
will really
Yeah, I
care
like
about
that a
that.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. That's
If you have low health, you're barely going to trigger this.
Exactly.
Right? You're just going to
400
die.
HP base is a large amount. So
Yeah.
we're thinking about 2 triggers of this maybe, and even more if you start building towards health.
All right. Well, that's it for our new items. Well, we got a couple of reworked items, and the first one is kind of a big topic here. So AJ, I'm gonna
Really? I didn't see any discourse.
I know, right? No discourse about it.
So no, this isn't gonna be that interesting. I think
I know, right? So I know I've been talking with AJ a lot about this.
I think we can blink right past it.
Oh yeah.
there we go.
Yep.
So if you didn't already get it from Clumsy Little Hint, we're going to talk about Blinking Amulet here.
That's right.
So making some changes to Blinking Amulet. AJ, give us the rundown on what we saw in Alpha Weekend 1 and kind of how we're looking at Blink going into Alpha Weekend 2.
Well, we saw a lot of hype, honestly, a lot of love.
Very exciting.
A lot of fun, and that's great. We had also a lot of tough lessons to learn and tough discussions to be had about the item and the concept in general. So first of all, I want to say, reworking items is going to be commonplace. Yeah. We're having a very experimental approach. We're having a lot of testing. It, by all means, does not mean an item has failed in any way. It's going to be just a part of the alpha process to keep reworking things, testing things, seeing what we feel, seeing how things play out. Now, Blink is probably going to be one that we'll be looking at in multiple rounds. Yep. But we have a pretty, I want to make sure I get my phrasing as good as correct as possible here, because there's a lot of challenging ways you can interpret this. So you'll see here on your screen a lot of changes we did. I'm not going to read them all off. I'll kind of summarize it more highly, which is that we wanted to keep the playmaking alive on this item as much as possible. So you're still going to be able to blink while you're using other abilities, which we just thought was really cool, really fun. It's going to take some bug fixing and some practice internally to make sure that works well with everything. The QA team is still a little shaken by this decision to keep this, but it was just so hype.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what we felt like was the biggest problem for Blink was the combat Blink. So we kind of broke it down in our design discussions between ability Blink, combat Blink, or combat ability Blink. The previous one just had no restrictions, which obviously made for some hype plays, but also didn't really feel that rewarding when you can't be counterplayed, you can't be stopped, you can't be prevented. It's just going to work every time if you know how to press the buttons. Obviously that was fun for the first weekend, but we think that was going to grow tired really fast when you have a completely uncounterable effect. The only way to balance it would be to have an excessively long cooldown or really bad stats, both of which people were already not liking. That was, if there was any negatives about Blink, they were like, man, this character I always like to build Blink on, but I'm just getting, I'm making such a sacrifice for these bonus effects. So really what we wanted to make this next version of Blink was, what's the most powerful, exciting version of Smite 2 Blink for the more traditional use cases Smite 1 needs Blink. So here we have a combination of stats. No longer allowed to be used in combat, which is a significant nerf. So in that case, we were able to buff it in a lot of other ways. It got a little cheaper. It got a little better stats. It got a significantly lower cooldown.
Half, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the gods who really need Blink will be best served by this Blink, we felt. And of course, the cool ambushing troll plays, whatever, charging up your Ymir in the bushes and then teleporting with no graphical effects, that's on us. But we're going to let you keep doing it for now until we can fix the visual issues and things like that. So we felt this was just a really good meeting point between the items. And the last little asterisk on the end is we're going to keep looking into more unique movement items.
I think there's a spoiler in an upcoming deep dive that might be.
So not necessarily
the one you were doing. Oh boy,
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, we put.
I got permission already. So
I don't know if it's out yet.
No,
I don't think it is. No,
it's coming in.
It'll
Alpha
be in
3,
between Alpha 2. Well, maybe the goal is the goal.
So we're not to say that we're immediately going to try to deliver a combat Blink replacement.
Yeah, no.
But we're going to keep adding more alternatives with some unique effects that can do movement. And if the main thing people are missing from this change is that they can't blink out of combat anymore, there are other ways we can implement things that can deliver a similar experience.
Actually trying to accomplish? Is it self-displacement? Is it, trying to hinder the enemies? Is it juking? Is it, invis? What are the different things that we can play around with?
Right.
Does it have to live all on one item? Yeah.
So this is the new Blink. I'm excited to see how this goes for now. I think the characters that like Blink are going to be doing really well with this. And you can still make those crazy plays, but you have to watch out. If you queue up that chalk alt and prepare to blink on the team, you got to dodge those hits or it's going to prevent you from blinking because you'll trigger the combat timer.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
It gives you the maximum playmaking potential with the maximum counterplay.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. You don't.
Right.
How can you argue with that? Someone's going to argue with
Well, of course, yeah, I'm sure. Check the chat right now. I'm sure someone's
that.
arguing.
Probably
with it.
already arguing with
But I feel like this is
Wait, do I have chat on this?
a very good and natural next step for let's see how this feels, and then we'll reevaluate after that. But I'm excited about the potential of this Blink.
Yeah. But everybody watching, feel free to try out Blink and Alpha Weekend 2. Let us know what you think after getting some games in with it. You know, we're taking all that feedback in, and like AJ said, we're just going to be continuing to not only look at Blink, but, you know, other movement items in the future.
Yep.
Oh, did I say cheaper? Apparently, it went got more expensive. My bad. It was the stats and the cooldown that.
Sorry, AJ,
that
you're
accounted
fired for that.
Yeah. We adjusted a lot of.
There were shifts. There was
we
buffs
adjusted a
and-
lot of
yeah.
costs and
Yes.
shit. Maybe I should have read that bullet point. Now.
Yeah, we had this actually took up a lot of our discussion time.
Yeah. Blink was like many hours of discussion on its own,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. The
I'm
next
still trying to
reworked
figure
item-
out where we. If
I
that's
know,
exactly
right?
where we're landed.
Who knows?
And we have an insight show tomorrow where we can get into
Yeah, that's
even more
true. Yeah,
deeper
Dev Insight
details.
tomorrow.
Yes.
Sure.
Talk about this in more detail. I see some other questions coming up that are talking about, you know, CC and beads and other things like that. We can talk about that tomorrow.
Yes.
Cool. All right, next reworked item is Bloodbound Book. It is shifting from a passive item to an active item. Who wants to take Bloodbound Book?
I can.
Cool.
I think largely we just found that the kind of on-demand shield effect that Bloodforge was giving us was just one of those things that when Bloodbound Book procced, it wasn't necessarily when you actually wanted it procced. It didn't necessarily save you. You could be so overkill that it didn't quite matter. But being able to control it just gives it a lot more agency over, like, I can use this when I know that I can use this to survive or to be more aggressive or to make the play, and that control isn't taken away from me. So this effect, I think, is just better served as an active, and so we moved it over to that style of effect. So now it is your more intelligence-focused kind of Bloodforge.
Cool. And speaking of Bloodforge, getting a similar change on the other side of the coin here, getting an update here as well with its active effect.
So Bloodbound Book became active and also got this new cooldown reduction clause.
Oh, yes, that is correct.
And Bloodforge Blade is also getting the same cooldown reduction clause.
Yes.
Now, as much as we like, there's a couple interesting, deeper design elements we could get into here. One is like symmetry between strength and int items, which generally we try to avoid.
Yep.
However, these items are a unique exception right now, where they are essentially the sort of Aegis for Smite 2. So we wanted these to be available to a wide array of classes and roles without any major downsides. We also wanted to iterate on the Aegis formula. In general, Aegis is like extremely all or nothing, right? It's not super exciting anymore. Many people think of it as kind of like a necessary evil. But that doesn't mean it can't be improved upon. It can't be adjusted. It can't be made more exciting. So what's cooler than Aegis is Shield, which is effectively an Aegis, but with the cap, and that you can fight through instead of just having to juke and stand there, which we think is just already a cool play for skill expression. And then additionally, we added this new clause that rewards you for getting kills while this ability is on cooldown. So using it to turn a fight and then secure that kill, which is like probably the most fun way we like to use the item in our testing. We've seen like high skill level players use it, is going to immediately benefit you towards the item's next use. Whereas just fleeing and spamming it as you run away to survive, you're going to have to get back to base, heal up, and get back in the fight and get another kill if you actually want to earn that cooldown. And it's 50% of the cooldown's current amount. Mm-hmm. So if it's almost off cooldown, getting a kill is not going to really make that big of a difference,
Right.
But if you kill someone right after you use it, you cut that cooldown literally in half. So just, I think, a really cool example of a lot of the cool stuff we can do in the new game. And overall, just, I think, exciting items.
Didn't we have another item rework here in the lifesteal vein? That I'm pretty
maybe.
sure was an AWE2?
Did I forget one?
I just want to make sure that I'm not going crazy, but we can... Did we not mess
You
around?
can pull up patch notes on the site. We may have missed one.
There might have been some on the patch notes.
Can I just say it just in case? Because I'm pretty sure didn't we go give the Reaper a glow up? I'm pretty sure that was an AWE2. Around the same time
We definitely talked about it. I don't know if we.
It's in the game.
settled on
And I'm
it.
pretty
It is in
sure
the game?
It's in the game. We've been playtesting with it. I'm pretty darn sure it's an AWE2.
Yeah,
I
let's
might
see
have just
what
forgot
Pon's
to put
got
that on
back
the
there.
match notes.
Right.
You're
yeah.
on dev for AWE.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm on AWE3.
So it'll be there for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, by
Yeah,
then.
I do believe we did get this in
It's
for
on the
AWE2.
Yeah, I'm looking at the two items list at least.
Is there
It's-
any
it's in there.
other
That's the main one that I can remember at least. And the idea between the Reaper, I mean, it's not too crazy. It's a little bit of a glow up. So if it is there, and I'm hoping it is,
You can tell we're working really fast.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's hard to know which one's in which build.
we just wanted to play up and make the Reaper even more interesting because we're talking about these different lifesteal options. Like, okay, well, we have Typhons, right? We have the Bloodforge changes, and it's like, well, what can we do with the Reaper? So the idea there is we want to kind of lean in to that like kill people playstyle. So it's now the threshold is going to be lower. I think at like 30%, and you gain strength and lifesteal on the trigger for when they are below 30% when you're hitting them. But the more you kill, you get stacking permanent buff, which is actually only the second of its kind. Because Necronomicon is the only other one that you can actually permanently lose those stacks. But these ones you keep, and the more you gain stacks, the more that threshold increases. So it goes from 30% to 40% before you can actually get that buff. And then the actual buff effects also increase with that threshold, stacking to 3 times. So the more you gain kills, the more the item actually just becomes better and better.
Cool. Yeah, I think Pon has it pulled up in game if we want to.
Yeah, if you want to hop over and just look at it real quick, you can see the effect here. And as Clumsy described, yep, it's the threshold was lowered, but now as you get kills, that threshold will permanently increase it, which will trigger the bonus strength for you and lifesteal, and the trigger will also get stronger.
Yeah.
So buy this early, get a few kills, and you will have a very powerful item at your disposal.
It's so different. Like from Smite, we would have a brainstorm about what we want to do with some items, and then you have to wait like months until you're able to like see that happening. And now it's like we talked about this like 2 weeks ago, you know, or like right before Branch, and it's just like it might, you know, it might be in for Alpha Weekend too. It's like I'm thinking like, no, we had that conversation like a month ago. No way that's in, but like it was probably in the next day or something like that if someone had time, which is so different.
It does look like, you know, sorry, Isaiah, if we missed a couple.
And not to catch you guys off guard either.
No, we missed a couple. Sure. We did miss a couple more because there's a couple nerf/reworks that are also not on the current run of show.
Okay, cool.
Definitely one of which we're going to want to
they're
talk
on the
about.
patch note show?
They're on the patch notes.
Okay, sweet.
I'm
Patch
looking
notes
at
on
the
the site,
notes.
yeah.
On the
But
patch
even
notes.
just there's a couple. So let's go to the next item, and then I'll read off a couple from patch notes, and we'll just talk about them high level.
Sure.
Cool. Let's do it.
So we
All
got one more to look at.
Helm
on
of
the official
Darkness.
rework section.
Yes. Helm of Darkness is our last one for official item reworks here. What's going on with Helm of Darkness?
Yeah, Helm of Darkness, you know, we talked a little bit about Sphere of Negation and how that is the item that makes the most sense for we needed a intelligence plus magical defense item, but people who are really into Alpha Weekend 1 might remember that Helm of Darkness was the intelligence and magical protection item, but the effect and the stats didn't really coexist very well. You know, that effect is what you want on someone who's going to try and flank, you know, get into the back line, whether it be an Athena trying to get a really nice taunt out of nowhere, or an Anubis trying to play an assassin type play style. That stat spread didn't really facilitate the idea of that passive. So made Sphere of Negation stat stick that could be a little bit more effective, and you're not being diluted by the passive as we talked about. And now you have Helm of Darkness with a higher intelligence and some physical protection in order to more clearly identify like, hey, you want to play Zeus and sneak in right in between their mid and ADC and chain lightning storm on top of their head, you'll be able to get rewarded for it better with Helm of Darkness now.
Reminder for the active effect, it is you stealth.
Yeah, it's just stealth.
Anyone can stealth.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a lot of support players were loving this item too.
Yep.
So, you know, we couldn't really give it too much, like I said. It made sense to split this out into a true the tank and magical, the int and magical protections versus this little splash.
Yep.
And even the supports like the aggressive nature of it, right? Because they're already buying a lot of dedicated tanking items, that having this additional like splash magical tank wasn't that useful to them.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be even more useful for them too.
And this is luxury priced as well, so this is going to be expensive, but what you're getting is a expensive luxury effect.
Yeah, you're getting to stealth
I
Anubis,
can't
man.
wait
Like,
to see some plays with this item. Like, it is so dope.
the first time I got stealth Anubis on, I literally jump scared. Like I was like, oh my God, like what just happened? Like
man.
it is terrifying for sure.
Cool. Well, AJ, I know you have patch notes pulled
Yes.
up. And I know Helm of Radiance is getting a change. Do we want to talk about that one while we're talking about the helms?
I'll throw that up there because they are, a thematic pair.
Yep.
Helm of Darkness is based on Hades' Helm of Invisibility.
Yep.
Helm of Radiance is based on the Roman solar crown you see in a lot of art and sun gods. Helm of Darkness is the more aggressive version with the stealth. Of course, that's what Hades' helm and lore gives you. It's like the most lore accurate item in the game,
Right.
I'd say. Helm of Radiance is the stacking protections one. So Darkness more damage, Radiance more protections. Radiance is just getting a simple nerf. I did just want to pontificate about the themes there, and both of them have new art in the album too.
They look sick.
But Helm of Radiance is just a nerf, decreased physical protection per stack from 10 to 5 on the passive. It was just giving you an absurd amount of protections. I saw a lot of people saying, just buy this item on everyone. It's the most stat efficient physical protection item in the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just a big cut down on protections there. Let's see. A couple other items that we didn't get into are Polynomicon buff.
Right, you're right. How did we forget about that one?
Yeah.
It's on the patch notes.
It's on the patch
me-
notes.
Me,
must have
I was saying, me and Aggro, it's like,
Yeah. I know.
Specifically, why did you forget about
right.
that one?
Come on, man.
Not my fault.
Me and Isaiah must have missed it, copy pasting some rows
Polygon
over.
Zeus?
But
No.
this is just a damage, increase the passive damage intelligence scaling from 30% to 50%. Now, our Smite 2 poly has no cooldown.
Yes.
So that's why the damage is lower. You can just use it, auto attack cancel through your whole kit to trigger it multiple times. We know that people still are interested in the burst poly, but we're like, there's a lot of fun and flexibility for this one. So we're trying to find the right damage amount with no cooldown, but we will be looking into potentially adding a cooldown back to this item
Yeah.
eventually.
Let us know what you guys prefer. Mm-hmm. What this feels like.
Another little nerf that would be similar to Helm of Radiance was Bagua Mirror. Same deal, just was given too much stats.
That item was always real good.
It was cracked.
Real
so
good. Yep.
We decreased the base int and strength on the passive from 10 to 5. So a smaller shave than Helm of Radiance. Got a big nerf. This is a smaller nerf. Like, tanks got a lot of adjustment because of their performance, so we didn't want to just kill this item.
Right.
It's still like the premier magical protection item, and we like that it has an aggressive twist, so just a little nerf there. And the last one, which is a really big one that we need to talk about for sure, is Kinsblade
Yes.
nerf shift.
Yes.
So this was, by most accounts, the absolute strongest item in the entire game. I
Yeah,
saw
I'd say
many
so.
people saying, just buy this on everyone. It's just too good.
Yep.
It was really good because we wanted to make sure its counter effect was really strong. So it actually had relatively low stats, but it had a really strong passive. All those things added together, it was still just way too strong. But we're kind of doubling down on that philosophy and making it a really, really strong counter item now. So it's going to get increased. Your basic attack damage dealt to gods is going to now do 20 base damage plus 10% of their max HP, but only of HP from items.
Right.
So this is not going to be just a good item to buy against everyone anymore. But it will be better and better the more health a target is building. So it's like really specific counter item, which probably will take some getting used to. I expect a lot of people will just kind of throw this in every build and be a little like puzzled if it's not working against enemy squishies. But like we've always been looking for a way to make this item not just the best against everyone. So we're really pushing that in this patch.
Cool. Well, does that wrap it up for items, AJ?
There is one more little disclaimer, which is like virtually every item in the game got adjusted to some amount.
Yep.
There might have been some other functional adjustments that we made because we're just hauling ass on these changes.
Oh, yeah.
So
We're gonna do it. We did it once.
Right?
We
And that
did it
is
twice,
the,
we're gonna
that
do
is
it
the
again.
technical term as
Yes.
well. Yeah.
moving fast.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out. You content creators calling out any other important, stat or cost shifts you see. Some good opportunities out there to discuss the game. But overall, just a lot of new items for Alpha 2.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I think that wraps it up for our item discussion. We got another big one coming up here, talking about Conquest. We mentioned earlier at the top of the show, what we noticed in Alpha Weekend 1. Games were running a little bit on the longer side of things, so we're making some changes to Conquest to kind of address and help with the overall match pacing. AJ, you want to kick us off with our primary goals for what we're changing?
Yeah, so check the patch notes for the more detailed information, but the gist of it is objectives are going to be easier to kill. So that's Gold Fury, Fire Giant primarily.
Yes.
Are going to be easier to kill. So better ways of getting early game advantage through those. We're going to decrease the amount of gold that you get from breaking down towers and getting those new tower pickups, which are super fun to pick up, but they were just giving it a lot of gold.
Yes.
So there is actually no structure changes in this patch. We did just mostly economy and objectives. So easier to kill Gold Fury Fire Giant, less gold from towers, more gold from lane minions and jungle camps.
Yes.
So really what we expect here is a lot more individual agency on pressing your advantage through map control. invading jungles is going to get even more valuable here, as those are going to be worth more. Pushing your opponents out of lane, pushing lanes into towers so they get less gold there, stealing those objectives and killing them earlier. I think they're easier to kill, so you should be able to take them even early and more frequently.
Yep.
And then there was also some important changes to the way experience was being awarded from kills. Some combination of bug fix and balance change there. Some combination of bug fixes and balance change there, but overall we expect the gold amount over time to change and experience gained from fighting to change in this patch. So there's going to be some big economic game-wide shifts. We're going to see a lot of shakeups based on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just like between these changes, the item changes, the god-wide changes coming up. Yeah, there's
Good
a lot
news
to-
for fans of change.
I know,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Plenty of it.
Lots to experiment with in Smite 2 this weekend for sure. But yeah, let's move on to gods
right
here.
into them.
And Pawn kind of touched on it earlier, but we are doing a base strength nerf for all gods.
In differing amounts.
Yep.
So, and this also included some ability like counter adjustments as well.
Yeah, so because everyone gets strength as their in-hand damage that they actually deal from their base god leveling up. Gods that use strength for scaling means that if we just took away strength from their per level stats they get, they're essentially getting a nerf to their ability kit as well. And so in some cases we counter adjusted, gave them some more scaling to make up for that. We increased base damages to make up for that, or we didn't make an adjustment, and that's essentially us saying we're nerfing this character.
Now all of those adjustments and counter adjustments are not fully listed on
Yes.
the patch notes. It's just a lot to write out. So we were gonna call out though, we have a whole additional set of buffs and nerfs on top of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. So we can get into that. You can start listing them off. On her, we're going to go in alphabetical order. On her is going to be getting a nerf to Desert Fury.
Yeah, the projectile range in particular. So this was one of the features that he gained in Smite 2 was that his ultimate was now longer range than his base attack projectiles, and that plus the bigger final hit plus the buffs to shifting sands. On her got a lot. And we thought that this was maybe the thing that pushed him a little bit too far over the edge. That increased range that on a projectile that pierces targets and walls that is easier for him to hit on that final projectile was just a little bit too much. So now that range that on her gets should be a little bit less
This should
oppressive.
feel more like Smite 1.
Yeah, if you're familiar with what 100 feet would be in Smite, or 100 units in Smite 1, 16 would be the equivalent. So it's literally almost double basic attack range is what it was. So it was very, very, very long.
Yeah.
It should now better match Smite 1 because we feel like that's reasonable for range and counterplay and hearing the ultimate going off. It was just, he could just absolutely hit you from completely far away and you didn't really feel like you could engage with him.
Yeah, and this is still longer than the basic attack range.
Yeah.
On her
Yes.
was, I think, the winningest god of the alpha test.
That would not surprise me.
Yeah, I could believe that.
Like,
That would
chin
That's
size,
why there's
strength.
a big nerf here.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
strength.
Yeah. The other thing discussed was his protection shred on his passive,
Yep.
which is definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. We at this point we kind of like how it's his unique thing that he brings as a hunter, but it is in a relatively scary amount and that might need to get further adjustment. But we're going to see how this affects him first.
All right. Next up is Bologna. Scourge going to be seeing a nerf here in Alpha Weekend 2.
Yep, just a tiny increase in cooldown. Bologna has been pretty strong on that soul lane, but we don't want it to go too crazy. We're talking about the strength level changes, talking about the hybrid item level changes. Just tiny 1 second cooldown. This is almost like a Smite 1 simple nerf here, just a little slap on the wrist.
Yeah, I
Slap
believe
on the wrist, yeah.
I believe she was also not really adjusted in any strength scaling, so I think she would essentially receive a nerf in that.
Exactly.
Yeah, this character was very strong.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we're moving on to buffs now. Anubis up first. AJ, you want to take Goobus?
Of course, why not? So he's going to have a decreased cooldown on Plague of Locusts and increased base damage on Grasping Hands. People just felt like he felt a little underwhelming. He was very popular still. A lot of people wanted to try him out. A lot of people were really excited to see how he plays in the new game. And I think he played well. We saw a lot of good hit flow. It was really just like adjusting a little bit of damage. The cooldown wasn't quite low enough to let him jungle or roam enough as we'd like it to see. Plague of Locusts, high risk, high reward. Want that to pay off. Grasping Hands, like people get out of it a lot, so it's like increasing that base damage a little bit and helping his lane carry a little bit can help a lot. And of course the addition of Typhon's Fang and some of the new int items are going to affect him heavily. But Anubis, beloved character, but needed a little help.
Yeah.
A little love in Smite too. All right, moving on. We got Bacchus up next. Going to be seeing Belly Flop getting a buff here, increasing the damage a little bit.
Yeah, from the strength scaling in particular. So this is a build that I know Pon and I have both loved a lot. Is like solo lane Bacchus, where you're building some amount of strength, some amount of int, mostly just a lot of protections and health though, and it's a really, really fun build, and just making sure that it feels a little bit more impactful, because it can be very strong. It just takes a little bit too long to get online. So this should make it feel more impactful.
Awesome. All right, moving on. Kernanos on the duo side of the map. Going to be seeing a buff here to a couple abilities. Bramble Blast and the Wild Hunt, both getting some buffs here.
The main thing was just Bramble Blast as an ability. Its scaling was really, really like low, and there's some initial damage adjustments as well that are on here. But it just was a low damaging ability, and so we're bringing that up some to help make sure that it fits more in line with other abilities, because you're not really going to have most characters be in it for a very long time. So just adjustments there. And then the Wild Hunt, the slow, just give more control to the team fight when you actually cast that onto a team fight.
All right.
Got to be careful with this god. We know he can run away with it.
Yep.
True, yeah.
Baby steps.
All right, next up, Chalk. Going to be seeing a buff on the passive. This one's a cool one.
Yeah, this is a quality of life increase, kind of the way we always wanted to.
The way it should have
The way
been.
it should have been, the way we intended to, just the way, we're prototyping things, getting things in for everyone. This
Well, the tech wasn't there yet.
there you go. The
That's it.
technical point literally wasn't there. So
Every now and then we are restricted by that.
yeah, so now the abilities, they're not refunding the mana, they always just cost no mana.
Easy and simple enough. Who's next up on the god list? Loki is up next. Loki getting a buff here. Vanish and Assassinate. Seeing a little bit of love.
Pretty substantial scaling damage buff here.
That's per tick. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's partially to offset the strength nerf that he was receiving, but also just to buff it in its own right.
Right.
And then talk
And
about
then
tech
we
didn't
just
have,
didn't have the cripple CC.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
didn't. The CC as a concept didn't exist in the last alpha. So now we added it back.
I think this one might have even said it crippled because we were getting ready for it in Alpha Weekend 1, but it
Yeah.
wasn't actually doing that effect. Well, now it's
I'm
actually.
pretty sure I took that out of the text for Alpha 1, but like people were still wondering why it was gone.
Yeah.
And it was just not ready yet.
Yep.
So Loki did seem like he needed some buffs a little bit at least. Anyway, make sure he could still burst people down. I think you really have to play super evasive tactics Loki right now to do the best, which is good. We don't just want him free one-shotting people.
So we're going Loki with Helm of Darkness, just double invis.
I mean,
Double stealth.
sure. Yeah, he doesn't get much up from the int from it.
No, but it still could be fun.
Your
Scales
damage
his debuff, yeah.
Yeah, on the 2.
Um,
I've been cooking a little int
Okay.
Loki build in my head a little bit.
Yeah. With Poly.
It's not going to be good.
Poly
It's going to be
Hydras?
explicitly bad, actually.
It's funny because if you go play Smite 1 and build tank Loki, people will focus you because I think they're just so ingrained to focus
Yeah.
Loki that you're actually an effective tank.
that is true. That is
It's
true.
really funny.
Bruiser,
kind of like
I've
an
tried a lot of
inherent top.
Bruiser Loki and Smite too as well. It could work.
Yeah.
It could work.
It could.
But yeah, some buffs for this guy.
Yeah. Staying in the Norse realms, Odin going to be getting a buff to Gungnir's Might.
This is a fun story.
Tell us, AJ. Tell us the story.
So we made Smite 2 Odin, and then Smite 1 changed Smite 1 Odin after we had made Smite 2 Odin. And there was communication and discussion on that, and there was a lot of those effects were transferred over. But the timing one, I mean, should have been more obvious to us. Like people only had to play with the faster timings for like a day before they were like, "What the hell is wrong with this ability?" It was using the old timings. So we sped this up to use the current Smite 1 reworked buffed timings that people are expecting.
Cool. All right. Last up for just overall god balance, and I feel like I have to throw to aggro.
Yeah.
It's Zeus getting a buff here. What's happening with Zeus?
Yeah, Zeus felt really good. I thought he was one of the more interesting topics of discussion from Alpha Weekend 1 because when we talked about his new AO2, everyone was like, oh, he's going to be terrible. He doesn't have a chain lightning target, all that kind of stuff. And then slowly, like, Thursday night, it was like, yeah, Zeus is definitely worse. Then Friday, it was like, yeah, he's not that bad. And then Saturday, it was like, yo, Zeus is OP now, man. Like, I thought that kind of transformation was funny, but we still felt like his int build was a little bit underwhelming, specifically on the ultimate. So just giving that a little bit of scaling. And the real buff here is Staff of Mirrodin being added. Because
Double detonate.
you don't remove detonate charges anymore whenever you 3. So you get to Yeah, you get to have some fun.
Why'd you tell the entire internet?
Because I'm going to do it to someone, and I don't want them to report me for it.
It is important to mention that Aggro did say like int Zeus.
Yes.
The
Yes.
in-hand Zeus was very, very powerful.
Yes.
He's essentially getting double hit by that strength adjustment because his passive augments your in-hand damage, and so it's augmenting the nerf from the strength removal. So
Right.
So adjustments
Zeus
there.
was really strong.
Yes, Strength Zeus was quite good.
I was playing some Smite 1 Zeus the other day, and not having that stun made me really sad.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no, I've got this training wheel for my 2. It's so lame. It takes all the excitement out of my character. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Oh man! All right, well let's talk about new gods in Alpha Weekend 2. We've already spoiled them a little bit. Soul and Hades being added to Alpha Weekend 2 here. So first of all, why Soul and Hades? What's going on?
So I talked about this a little bit on the Insight show last show, but there's a lot of different parts and pieces to the formula that helps us decide which gods are going to come out next in Smite 2. It's not an easy decision. It's not an easy process. There are pivots as we go sometimes based on how certain characters' new tech, new art comes in. We are doing a lot of shifting. We're working on a lot of gods at once, very rapidly. So at some cases, it might seem like there's like a perfect pattern to it. And in other cases, it might be unique. It might be a little puzzling. We like the fact that there's not like a strict repetitive pattern. That tends to get really boring. So we're going to try to intentionally throw some curveballs in there. A lot of people were discussing about like what more magical gods all of a sudden. It's just like, yeah. Surprise.
Why not? Yeah.
Nobody expected that. These two are also just super popular and also bring some more unique archetypes. I think like Soul being the first like true magical ADC. We kind of moved Zeus towards that, but like Soul already was that. And Strength Soul is going to pop off.
Yep.
And then Hades is like super flexible character that can do a lot of different things. And we were just really excited to... We'll talk about it more when we show.
Yeah, let's go in game. Let's check out Soul first.
We felt like Hades just had some really awesome design potential. So.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
So really quick to kind of go over the main features for Soul. Obviously, with strength in the game now, she can use that to build crit. She can use that to augment her basic attack. So if she wants to really focus on that playstyle, she can. And we did a few key changes to her kit to try and support that better. So, for example, her passive actually gives her strength as well as intelligence, where before in Smite 1, it just gave magical power. So her passive will augment your hands very directly. The second thing was we added some extra ways to generate heat, most notably the ultimate. The big thing there is now your ultimate, as you hit targets, will give heat. So your ultimate in a pure in-hand build where you're building a lot of strength might feel underwhelming in the sense of like raw damage, but still a lot of good control, and it can immediately put you to full heat, so you can just start wailing with your auto attacks. So it's a really powerful tool that way.
Nice.
For the more int-focused side of things, we want to make sure that she's a magical carry, but she also is a AoE mage. She has a lot of AoE abilities, and so we wanted to highlight that for when you go that int playstyle. So the first major noticeable change is you have your 1, and it gives you a ton of heat, it heals you, and it does damage in AoE. But when you're at full heat, it doesn't necessarily have as much use case anymore because it's mainly a builder, but now it is a giant area.
So this scales linearly with the heat you currently have.
Correct.
So, the more heat you have, the bigger your AO1 is.
And you can see if I cast it once here, it's the size. If I cast it twice, that size. And then full size is a little bit bigger than that because that's the full strength. And you can even see the targeter. It will dynamically adjust. I got to work on this. I'm just going to show it off because I like it. Look at that. Up in real time.
How did you do that?
Crazy.
That is insane.
Insane. So your 1 has extra use cases. You can drop this in the middle of a team fight and cover a wide area and threaten people to essentially get out of that area because it does quite a bit of damage if you can keep people inside of it. It's just really hard to when it was this size before. Your 3 also has some new spline tech going on with it. So the trail is, instead of a whole bunch of deployables, is actual spline.
Nice.
And you can see that explosion effect. It's there in Smite 1. It used to do damage in Smite 1 when it exploded. We brought that back. So now if people are on the trail, it explodes. And it explodes in a relatively large area. So if people are trying to chase you, they have to respect the trail a bit more now.
No stun though from Smite.
No stun.
Zeus already cashed in our bring it
Right,
Yeah, and he deserved it more, Soul players. I don't want to hear it.
And you can see there, using my ultimate, I immediately got to full heat hitting the targets there. The ultimate works very similarly. It has the same type of paint targeter. Hint as to why we might wanted to do Soul and bring Soul in the game is we have a new targeter type we had to support. But yeah, so that's all the major Soul changes. If you want to play that int mage style, you have that available to you with that extra AoE from your 1 and the explosion of your 3. Or if you want to play that in-hand style, that carry style, you can play that as pure intelligence, and you will do quite a bit of damage. And if you want to take it to the next level, you can start throwing in Deathbringer. You can start throwing high strength items in there. You could go like a strength CDR and splash like 2 CDR builds, so you're just throwing abilities all over the place. A lot of flexibility here. Soul was a really popular character, really successful character. Doesn't have as many changes as we've had on some other characters, but I think these changes are going to go really well for her playstyle and really supporting the things that she's going to want to do in Smite 2.
Yeah, being able to pressure down those towers so quickly. I mean, even though we nerfed the gold from them a little bit, they still give a lot of gold. And she is the premier tier 1 tower annihilator, right?
Yep.
You get any lane lead, she'll be able to shred that down, get that early game lead, really try to convert that into a lot of pressure across the map.
Yeah, I think she's one of the characters that benefits from the item store changes the most, and I don't think I have any idea what her best build truly is, and that's like fun and exciting to me. Who knows?
There's a couple other notes about Soul we should touch on before we move on.
Yeah, so just a few things. We had our flash test, and some people gave feedback about Soul. Obviously, alpha, things are work in progress at times. One thing that we especially know is the hair. Her hair and her character model have a lot of different treatments going along with it. Supporting this type of character's material work and particle work is a big endeavor, and we know that we have some things that we still want to be doing to different aspects of her character model. So be on the lookout for those as we go forward. It doesn't mean we're necessarily done here, but we do see that feedback. And of course, as we go into the Alpha Weekend, give us your feedback. Don't assume anything is final or is temporary. Just give us the feedback as you see it, as you feel it, as you're playing out the game, and then we'll take that and obviously adjust accordingly.
I'm watching chat here, so some quick clarifications is that yes, we are recommending you try full strength and crit soul, but that will still deal all magical damage.
Correct.
Yes.
All of her abilities deal magical damage. Those things are not tied. And then we have, for additional clarity, upon, if you can demo for me, the new basic attack tooltip section. If you use Alt to hover next to your god avatar, you can see right there that it will deal magical damage. You can see the magical symbol, and you can get a description on the scaling, the damage dealt, the heat, and the projectile rules.
Very cool.
Correct.
So then if you also look over the rest of her kit, you'll see that does magic damage as well. But I mean, the basic attacks is one that I understand that it's taking people some time to get used to.
Yeah.
So that little symbol down there will be for every god to help you remember what type of basic attack, help you learn what type of basic attack damage they're doing. And it'll clarify some of the melee and projectile rules that you might not even know after playing Smite 1 for a long time.
Yeah, it's just funny because you're absolutely right. You know, we almost get ahead of ourselves. Soul will still deal well and good, perform well with an in-hand magical ability build, whatever you may want to do, if you want to scale with intelligence. But we just like talking about the strength stuff and crit because that's the new exciting stuff that you're really going to play with and the difference between Smite 1 and Smite 2. If you want to go in-style build, if you want to build her like a true ability damage mage, you absolutely can do that.
Build magical protections against her, regardless of her build.
And I was going to say, it's going to be a little weird to build crit items and then not Executioner, but you don't want Executioner because that gives you physical penetration. You still want to buy a magical penetration item, and you're still getting benefit from that intelligence that you're getting on it. But 5 strength items and a magical penetration item is going to look odd at first, but
plus a splash of int even in the full strength builds feels
Very
really good
good.
just to take up her abilities a little bit more. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're still contributing to your basic attacks, so you still get scaling on that.
Honestly, I really actually want to, like, in the middle of like a giant gold fury fire giant fight, I want to go like a pure int and just go double one.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna just
My God, you
You're
would
gonna
cook them.
area.
Yeah.
You would cook them. Or you could Staff of Mirrodin 3. They're like, all right, we're going to get her. And then you just 3 again instantly.
We've seen a lot of mid soul over Smite 1's lifetime, like meta by far. So this character is really flexible in that regard, which is great for our goals in Smite 2.
Yep.
All right, the next one, Hades, the king of the underworld, making his way to Smite 2, and he's got some spicy changes here.
Very exciting
I know.
gameplay change. One of our absolute favorites so far.
This one was wild.
Yeah.
Like, I know when it was pitched and it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
But it works so well for what the god needs, and
Feels
it has
great.
the right
Yeah.
level of balance, like knobs we can use to tune it. So
I do need to relaunch the game, but I can talk about it while I'm working.
Yeah.
okay.
So Hades has always kind of struggled between being like this burst character or this frontliner, and was never really good at either. And we had to do a lot of things like give him like 200 protections in his ult so that he doesn't immediately die, because he needs to be able to build pure magical power and be able to survive. And we think that in Smite 2, especially with a lot of our characters, we're looking to make sure that their kit really gives you some insight into what they're supposed to be doing. And Hades' kit really does scream this frontline character. And so we wanted to support that in a few different ways. Obviously, if you want to play in burst, you can still try that. It's still going to be good. But we are leaning more into that style of he is a frontline mage. He's the mage that you bring so that you can engage with your team and just start fighting. So the first one is going to be around his 3. And if you've played 80s, you know the struggle of trying to heal your teammates with it. They will do everything in their power to not stand near it so that you can't get a heal on them. No more. Now what happens is when you detonate, it basically figures out how many detonates you're going to hit, because it actually cascades and hits people based off their blight explosions. It figures that out, and then Hades heals himself for that immediately, but then shoots off a healing projectile to all nearby allies around himself, healing them for that amount. So now they just have to be around you. They don't have to be around your detonate target, which immediately frees up, makes it a lot easier for your team to actually engage with this. They still might snipe your minions, unfortunately. Can't fix that. But we can make it so that you can heal your teammates more effectively. So that immediately gives him a niche application, like for your team composition, gives him a really strong niche.
Yep.
Now, the bigger thing is his ultimate. Like I mentioned before, it was kind of this ultimate that left you as almost like a sitting duck at some points. We want to give it some more control so you can decide what you want to do with it and really serve that frontline role when you bring it to your team. So his ultimate now, when you activate it, I do need to focus on actually getting into the game.
I want to see Pawn. Hurry.
I couldn't. The ultimate now lets you refire your 1, 2, or 3. It basically immediately resets the cooldown of it so you can use them. And then your 1, 2, or 3 gets a bonus effect. Your 1 will let you dash, like you use your 1, and restart your ultimate for a fixed duration at that location. So you ult, people trying to escape, no, you're chasing after them. You're going to try and capture them again for a smaller window of time. Your 2,
It's pretty good.
You can even blink this if you haven't damaged anybody.
True.
You can
Pretty
ult,
hard.
If you completely whiff your
entirely.
ult, instead of being embarrassed, you can blink, or you can use your 1 to fix it.
Alt,
Or
blink,
both.
1.
Yep.
You also have your 2, which is a giant silence cone. And it'll basically as a half area. So if you have people trapped there and you just want to keep them trapped there, keep them from fleeing, control the whole area, you can 2 to make sure they stay there. Or you can detonate and trigger a big AoE in the whole ult radius that also triggers all the other effects of it. So it detonates targets. It also shoots out the healing, as mentioned before. So you have this essentially extra +1 that you get to bring directly to a team fight. If you catch a whole bunch of people in there, you can focus on damage, control, or repositioning. And that just is a lot of flexibility for this character.
He's nuts. He's really good. And he feels so much like I'm a longtime Hades mid lover. I love playing Hades mid. My support always shows up to my wave, even when they're not going to do anything, except when they need to get healed, and then they're going to run away from me.
Should be a game now.
It's so insane. Like the AO3 change feels incredible, and then when you get to chase an on her who leaps with your ult, you're like,
Oh my God.
this is unbelievable.
There we go.
So you can see here, I'm just going to showcase the main new aspects. The rest of Hades, the blight interactions, the rules surrounding blight interactions and consumption are all the same as Smite 1. The main changes are with the 3 and the ultimate. And so you can see here, if I detonate, you can see the nice healing spirits fly and heal those Odin. You can
He's
get
had a
like,
lot of visual touch-ups too.
yeah,
Yes,
he's had a whole of the effect
He's a very
pass.
old god, and although we love his themes and his style, the particle effects especially are a huge, a huge change.
Yeah, just a really nice effect. And you can kind of get an idea of the range here with how that Odin's being healed.
And the 3 is significally faster
Yes,
than it used to be.
Yes, the 3 is a lot faster. It was actually kind of wild after we made the adjustment. I didn't think I took that much time off of it. When I went back and played Smite 1 again, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really, really slow.
All my damage Hades lovers out there like me, this is big for us, for sure.
And also to push him into that front line role, we've also lowered the cooldown of the 3, so it's a more consistent source of pressure and healing that you get to bring. So if you build tanky CDR with a little bit of int, it's a pretty effective build and just consistent pressure that you can bring to your team.
Yep.
Now to showcase the ult stuff, we got your ult. It does the things you expect. It vortexes targets. But you can see all my icons there turned that kind of different color. So if I ult and I won, we restart over here.
There we go.
If I ult and we 2, you can see the targeter doesn't quite match. We're working on fixing that. But you can see that it has that big half circle.
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah.
So you can immediately silence and fear that whole area. Or, of course, you can ult, and because everyone's blighted, you now detonate, and you heal your whole team for 240.
Oh, let's
Is that
Is this better than letting him dance in his ultimate?
We should still let him do that.
Yeah.
Get in the comments.
Yeah, and it has to cripple guys, right?
Right,
Like that's the classic.
I feel like we even just like went into the discussion like, what if Hades could move in his ults? And then we were just like, wait a second, he kind of can with his one now.
It's really good.
Yes.
He's very good.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
the flexibility that allows. I just remember, playtesting for one of the first times, and it was like, okay, I need to get to that team fight, but my one isn't up, so I'm actually going to ulti 2-1 to get closer, and then I got what is able to get in the team fight in time. Like that feels good.
Yeah. By the way, Staff of Mirrodin. Yeah, you can cook 3 jumps.
Oh my god, that's true.
No, there is no
Mirrodin,
one
one,
far
one,
enough
ulti
from you.
one.
No, you
Yep.
get a 1 and then a 1 and then an alt
Ulti
1.
one,
yeah.
Or can you
Yeah.
can you get an alt 1 and an alt 1?
No, you can only do one Mirrodin 1, regular
They're
one.
separate ability
alt one.
cooldowns, so it actually would work that way.
It would.
It wouldn't work. That way.
Okay.
Wouldn't.
Yeah, you can only get 4 too many guys. Come
know.
on, no way we could balance that.
Mirrodin specifically only works on your ability 1, 2, or 3. These are like special hidden hit
Yes.
secret abilities.
What
that are
about-
not tagged as
what about
ability
breastplate?
1?
They would affect your cooldowns that are behind the scenes.
Oh, okay.
Like in the same way that like how
Yeah, yeah.
like if you had like Chronos Pet, it affects her other abilities
Okay.
behind, like their abilities being tracked behind the scenes.
Unless.
We could.
Yeah, let us know if you find a way to double alt ability because we don't want
know,
that to
right?
happen.
Right.
or do.
It should unequip them literally, so it should be impossible. But
Let us
I've been
know.
wrong.
Should be. But yeah, Hades, super iconic god to Smite. So excited to have him back.
Yeah.
All right.
He's back and better than ever.
It's gonna be awesome.
A good example of being able to do like changes that were hard to do in Smite 1.
Yes,
Giving us a new context, a new ability to do these.
and he wiggles so well.
Yeah, he does.
He's the wiggle king.
The wiggle. Yeah, the cloth physics on full display here.
Whoa.
Potentially too much, but that's something we're still working
All right, Pon, I'm getting nauseous, please.
Right? Yes.
And then skirt twirls. It's
Yeah,
great.
I saw that. It was cool.
Ballerina Hades skin
man.
coming up soon.
Sweet. Well, Soul and Hades headed to everyone during our Alpha Weekend 2 starting tomorrow. And I believe that's just about all that we've got for the show today. But I do have a couple of reminders, so don't tune away just yet. Wanted to remind people first, most importantly, how does the Alpha Weekend work? How can you play? If you want guaranteed access to our second Alpha Weekend that kicks off tomorrow, be sure to purchase a Founders Edition. If you can't purchase the Founders Edition right now, be sure to register on our website or via Steam through the Steam playtest functionality. I've heard through the grapevine that we're going to be sending out a lot of invites this weekend, so be sure that you're got your Founders Editions queued up. Servers are going to be available for 36 to 72 hours. We're going to kick off tentatively at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, unless Travis wants to crash and press the button early, so keep an eye on that. And I've heard that we're actually going to be extending the test. It's going to end Sunday at 8 p.m. So a few more hours of Smite 2 action this weekend for those who are going to hop in and play. For those who've got their cross-gen content that want to make sure that they've got it unlocked in Smite 2, be sure that you've got your accounts linked in Smite 1 via the Divine Legacy page. That way you've got all your Smite 1 cross-gen skins available to you in Smite 2. And then last but not least, providing feedback and reporting bugs, join our official Discord server, discord.gg/Smite game. We've got a bunch of channels in there for you to find people to play with, but also for you to provide your feedback. Our bug report form is going to be linked in there as well. So if you run into any issues during Alpha Weekend 2, hit up that bug report form and let us know what issues you run into. But overall, we're just super excited for everyone to hop in and make their way into Smite 2 during this Alpha Weekend. And we're looking forward to hearing what everyone thinks about all the updates that have gone into the game.
We're just getting started.
We are just getting started.
We're just getting started.
Wait, what? Who?
Oh, where did I come from? Hi, everyone. I'm Magic.
Hindu, what are you doing
The
here?
set got a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion, at least. Nice to see you all at home. Yeah, esports.
What do we got
gonna
going on with esports this
Steal the weekend. This weekend, we have an esports tournament going on. If you don't realize, make sure if you signed up and you got access to Smite 2, you can play as part of this weekend. Make sure you join the official Smite 2 esports Discord, and you can use that QR code there to help you on the way, or just check out our social media. But yeah, we've got Smite 2 Alpha this weekend. We're actually going to do 2 tournaments, 1 NA and 1 EU. I am
right?
scared. How are you devs feeling about it?
Excited.
Yeah?
That'll go great.
I'm ready for Invade meta. I'm ready for Mirrodin meta.
Yeah, we can
All
play,
the
right?
things.
I'm ready for some really weird team names as usual. That's what I'm looking for.
We have our GMs right?
But I will say the Invade meta is definitely something I'm interested in too, because a lot of people have been talking about that.
I know, right? It's gonna
Well, I'm just interested to see what is actually going to win.
And to
You
be
know,
clear,
is it going to be pure skill, just the best players we know doing whatever they want? Is
I
it
don't
going to
know.
be some
Should be pure
niche
chaos,
strategy?
you know?
Yeah,
Is it
what-
going to be the same old 5-player comps that we saw from Smite 1?
I don't know.
It really could be anything.
gonna be interesting. I saw Solar Trolls team Cowabunga. Like
Cowabunga.
that team looks insane.
definitely, definitely. I mean, on a paper, when you look at that team, you're like, oh man, for Smite 1, great. But can they do it in Smite 2?
I think we're going to see some team come out of nowhere and do really well.
That's
It
my
might not
expectation.
win at
That's all
all, but I think we're going to see at least some, just some hometown heroes show up.
But guys, I got more news for you.
Wait, what?
More news.
More?
More than that. We actually have some esports news for you today. We are prepared to announce where our first live LAN is going to be located. Should we do it?
Smite 2
Let's
lane.
do it. Yeah.
Smite 2 LAN, to be
Oh,
clear.
yeah.
Run the video, boys. It's finally time to give you all an esports update. We're excited to announce our first attended live esports event of Smite 2 will be at the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas, January 17th to 19th. Qualifications for the event will begin during the fall of 2024, so start forming your teams and preparing for the competition. Make sure you check out the Smite 2 Esports website and Discord to stay updated on the latest information regarding the qualification path. Tickets for the Las Vegas event will go on sale later on this year. Head over to Smite Esports website and make sure you register your interest in attending the event to get further information the moment it becomes available. We'll see you all in Las Vegas.
We're going to Vegas, baby.
We are
Are we
going to-
not already in Vegas? I was
Oh,
ready to
yeah,
go
I know,
all in on
right?
this hand.
I mean, to be honest, this has been there all day today, and I don't know if people have even noticed the poker chips on the table there.
Oh.
On top of that, I've been
It's not
tweeting out.
Goldfish? Oh, okay.
I've been tweeting out consistently little teasers of Vegas stuff randomly. Even my truck simulator, if you check that out, if you notice, I was actually by in Vegas.
Really? Oh, yeah.
I'm a genius, but nobody noticed. A couple of updates though. Obviously, new website, smiteesports.com. We don't have a pro league currently, so I'd rather as default to smiteesports.com. Head over there /Vegas for more information. Obviously, it's early days in a weird way, but we're nearly in June, guys.
I know,
Oh
right?
my god.
We've got to look towards the future. Obviously, the game's in active development. We want to showcase that we are active for Smite 2 Esports, and we will be doing the first live event in January. Obviously, as part of the keynote, we did mention we are still looking at a European event, which will be into next year later on, and continuing to bring you guys majors throughout the year. Obviously, this event too, just to mention, a bit smaller in scale than a Hi-Rez Expo level, just because it's a bit of a smaller venue, but also it's not ready for a World Championship yet. The game's not even out yet. That's
right.
But I expect we will get to that stage probably later on into next year. So we're super excited to announce to you all, we'll have more information to come. We are going to Vegas. Tickets will go on sale later on this year. And as the game and the developers continue to work on the game, we'll give you an idea of the timeline of the qualification path to get to Vegas for all the regions involved.
That's right. In the meantime, get your teams together, start plotting,
Pretty much.
participate in these Alpha Weekend tournaments because they've got a prize pool to them, right?
There is.
$2,500.
Yeah, not a huge amount, but it's an alpha. So, we're going to play it. A lot of people are going, where's esports? Then there's another group of people going, this is too early for esports. And I sit in the middle of those.
It's never too early for
Right?
you.
Yeah.
In some regards, no. So
for esports.
we're going to have fun this weekend. We'll see how it goes. And hopefully we'll just keep bringing you more and more esports as time goes on.
Very exciting. Thank you. I mean, Smite 2 and Hi-Rez Studios, our games are just entwined with esports at the core level. A lot of the changes of Smite 2 are designed to continue to push the competitive nature of the game. So can't wait to actually see it happening on the new game. This weekend already.
It's going to be
Yeah,
so
already.
good. I can't wait.
Just
I'm going to be
future
glued.
Alpha weekend.
They want me to announce Vegas this weekend for this week and also do the
for
alpha. And I'm like,
Vegas.
oh my God, this week is going crazy.
Yep.
like the whole qualifying trail for Vegas is going to be
Correct.
I mean, I don't even know what it is, but I'm excited for it.
I'll give you some spoilers on the qualification stuff. We're definitely going to be messing around with a few formats we've not done before, just to see how they go through the first phase. And if there's a window where the game is ready a little bit earlier, we will throw on additional tournaments, not just be waiting for January, but I can't announce that just yet. I'll tell these guys feel comfortable in the game, and we all feel good about the game.
Well, we'll learn a lot this weekend.
Oh yeah.
All being well.
And if not, we'll just make changes and keep working, right? That's what we do.
I will say it's really weird being on the other side of this coin from being hosting these shows.
Right, yeah.
To coming on with announcements and information. I'm like, God, I've got to
You
do
just
that.
get to be the special
That's really
guest
weird.
with all the good news at the end of the show, right?
Yeah. If I'm not here, there's no good news. Is that what you're saying there, everyone?
No.
Oh. I can't give you esports news every patch, but maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. We'll
we
see.
might have to fix that.
We'll see.
We've got to have something.
Okay.
All right, we'll make it work.
I agree.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, Smite fans. We are going to Vegas for the Smite 2 Founder Series in January. Go to smiteesports.com/Vegas. Pre-register for those tickets. That way you stay up to date. But we've got the Smite 2 Alpha Weekend 2 kicking off tomorrow. We've got a community tournament that's happening this weekend.
Yep.
Smite game is going to be on and popping for the next few days. So make sure that you stay tuned to everything. Stay tuned to Smite Pro on X. Stay tuned to Smite Game on all of our different social media channels for all the updates as we head into Alpha Weekend 2. But until then, we'll have a Dev Insight show tomorrow at 1 p.m. Hang out with the design team a little bit more. Get those questions ready. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to explain.
We got some juicy topics to dig into already, so
gonna be
excited
awesome.
to see what people might want to ask us in addition.
Sweet. Well, I think that's it for our showcase stream today. Before we dip out, anyone have any last words before we break and get back to work before Alpha Weekend 2 starts off?
Thanks for playing.
And just like, get me off here. I'm not used to being
I'm
here
not used to being
anymore.
on air these days. I'm like, God, I've got so much to do.
Thanks everyone for the feedback you gave us last Alpha Weekend. We're looking forward to this Alpha Weekend. We got so much information, we learned so much, and you guys were so great at giving us feedback. I think you guys actually broke the bug bot for a little bit, the one that actually posted to us. We had to fix that, so you even found the bug with the bug bot. So I can't wait for you guys to play this weekend. And again, please give us all your feedback.
Yes.
Let's get down for esports. Did you already do it? Let's get down for esports.
Yeah, I was really quiet about it.
It was quiet.
And just like, get me out of here. In the stream. Cut the stream. We're gone.
Move on.
Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning into the showcase stream. We'll see you at 1 p.m. ET tomorrow for the Dev Insight stream. And then later on tomorrow for Smite 2 Alpha Weekend 2. Lots of 2s going on, but it's just twice as exciting.
Oh.
But until next time, we'll see you on the battleground.
Rated T for Teen.
Enough talk. Let's fight. Open the gates.
We'll smash you like a pancake.
Murder and seduce. That's what I do best.
Apocalypse awaken.
Onward to victory!